We're going live. We're live. We're here. Hello, everybody, to episode one of. Excuse me, that's not a very good start. Um, Welcome, everybody. I think that's where I was to episode one of Scriptwriting for Beginners. With me, James Brennan, your host and the man behind the mouse and the letters. Um, I'll try and keep it short and sweet, these videos. I don't want to go into too much detail about reviewing Final Draft 11, which I do think is a good piece of software, nor necessarily the craft, the finer details of it as such. The things that annoy me about the craft, the things that I enjoy writing. This is purely to help people who have a very basic idea of, well, an idea that they have in their head that they want to try and put on a bit of paper, and you must think, oh, I don't know how to even begin. So this is purely going to be focusing on the structure and the formatting and how you put your ideas onto paper. This isn't going to be about how you generate stories, idea, the turning points, the midpoints, the character arcs, and all that kind of script writing jargon, which, yes, there is a place for it and it is crucial. And that does determine what a good script is to a bad script, and it's no different from when you go to the cinema and you watch something in the cinema and you think, I really enjoyed that film. And the reason you probably enjoyed that film because everything about it was so precise. You had a beginning, a middle, and an end. There was character development. One character turned good to evil, or vice versa. Of course, the dialogue was quite witty, maybe it be funny, hard hitting, blah 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 blah. So all of those do take place whilst writing. But for the purpose of these videos, I'm kind of trying to aim for people who have just a very, very basic knowledge of writing, a beginning, middle, and end, a baddie, a goodie, an antagonist, a protagonist. So, without further ado, let's get going. Right, so, if this was what you had on your screen as well, you'd normally start with a fade in. Now, this is purely from a writing point of view. Fade in, you can imagine, once a title sequence comes up, you're sitting in your cinema chair, fade in, after all the credits, we fade in. So I'm doing this with my hands. If you could see me, I'm fading in, I'm dropping in to the scene. Now, the next bit would be choosing whether or not the scene takes place either indoors or outdoors. Now, there are slight grey areas when it comes to that. Some people say, well, if you're sitting inside a car, but the car's on a driveway, technically you're in it, but the car's outside. Help, James, what is it? Now, for the purpose of how I think, and again, what I say isn't necessarily gospel, but I've had various success and feedback on my scripts that say they're up to an industry standard. So I'd like to think that there's certain stuff which, well, I'd like to think you can take for gospel. So for the purpose of the way I think, anything that has walls, be it car walls, a house walls, or walls of a, I don't know, walls of a, I don't know, walls of something is interior. Anything that you can run and not bang into a wall is exterior. So let's say, bearing in mind, this is going to be page one. Okay, this is our opening scene, which I'll probably do for episode one. We just want to get one page done, get the story going. So our idea is going to be about a boy who wakes up in the middle of the night, calls out for his mum because he's seen a monster underneath his bed, and he wants his mum to come up to his room and check for a monster underneath his bed. Okay, so for this, obviously, it'll be indoors because he's in his bedroom, unless he's sleeping outside, but that would be rather unusual. Now, logically, if you're going to be sleeping as a kid or anyone, it's going to be nighttime. So that's what that stands for. Now, here, granted, you could put Adam's bedroom or whatever your character name is, Sally's bedroom. However, if you want it just to be very standard, it's a bedroom. Don't really need to go into too much detail. For the purpose of this, you can just put bedroom. Now, same thing goes with this. Now, everyone knows what a bedroom looks like. There's not too many differences with bedrooms, be it a boy bedroom, a girl's bedroom, a they's bedroom. It's very standard, okay? Unless you want to write something which is very, very, very unique for the purpose of the story. So let's say it was a plain plain bedroom, walls painted blue. Now you could have any colour here, but that is just purely, yellow. That is just, it's an easier way to set the scene for the person reading. They can imagine this room. It's a plain bedroom, but walls painted yellow. Now you could argue I'm contradicting myself because I've just put a plain bedroom. That would imply that the walls are plain. Yes and no. A plain bedroom to me just simplifies it. It's nothing special. It's a bog standard small single bed room. If you wanted to make it a glamorous room, you could say a glamorous bedroom. You don't necessarily describe what's glamorous about it. You could say glamorous bedroom with a chandelier hanging down. That would add to the glamorous aspect. So if we put a small bedroom, pictures of let's say Millwall. Okay, sorry for all you West Ham fans out there. Pictures of Millwall FC hang from the wall. Now, that just gives you a little bit of background that, if it's a kid's bedroom, that he's clearly a fan of Millwall. He's into football, or he or she, is into football. The dad could be into football, which is why he supports Millwall, etc., etc. Small bedroom, pictures of Millwall FC hang from the wall. And this is where you go into character. So let's call him Harry Johnson. That's your character's name. Let's say he's, go like that, 6. Now that means, this bit here means that he's 6 years old. Now the next bit is character description. Now again, like anything else, there's various ways to do it. I always try to do rule of 3. Describe their appearance in terms of size, their hair, which is, I suppose, unusual, but sometimes you could say, someone's haircut does add to their character aura, whether it be greasy hair, scruffy hair, short cropped hair. And then the third is something unusual, which just adds a little bit of wittiness to it. So let's say he's chubby, bowl cut haircut. I don't know why that's spelling. Let's just do that. That makes sense, right? Bowl cut haircut. Kind of makes sense. Everyone knows what a bowl cut haircut is. Chubby, bowl cut haircut. Wearing let's say Spider-Man PJs. Spider-Man t-shirt. So we get this sense that he's chubby, bowl cut haircut, Spider-Man t-shirt. It just gives a bit of a character description to someone that you could have easily have just said Harry Johnson, 6, chubby. But how's his hair? Chubby, long hair, short hair. I think doing a rule of 3 and trying to focus on appearance in terms of size or even like a demeanour, then the haircut, and then something slightly more witty about it completely adds into the character. So that obviously would be like that. Right, the next bit would be speed. So small bedroom, pictures of Millwall FC hang from the wall. Harry Johnson, chubby, bowl cut haircut, Spider-Man t-shirt. Sits upright in bed, his forehead sweating. Now, again, the fact that he sits upright in bed is quite rapid. His forehead sweating. Anyone watching this and reading this, when I say watching, I mean as if this ever got made into a show, you would know, right, clearly he's just had a nightmare. He's not had a good night's sleep. Otherwise, why would he be sitting upright in bed with his forehead sweating? So sits upright in bed, his forehead sweating. Harry. Now this is speech. This is how Harry speaks. So Harry, mum. Clearly he's calling for his mother to come. Now, if you want to then say, if you want a bit of a moment's pause, you normally can write beat, which means there's a slight pause or a slight stumbling, like dun-dun-dun, You know, it's something, it doesn't just happen instantly, because assuming that the mum has to come from wherever she is to get, you know, to get into the room. So Harry, mum, mum, mum. Harry tucks his feet further inside his duvet. You can imagine this kid, if he's scared, he's that classic thing when you're a kid, you don't want your feet hanging over the edge of the bed because you're afraid that someone's going to drag you underneath the bed and do whatever to you. So that's basically what I'm just trying to do here. Harry tucks his feet further inside his duvet. This also allows us time for the next action to happen. Bearing in mind, that's a scene heading. This is action, that's a character's name, and that's character dialogue. Had I've got rid of that and just said mum, 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 and then mum enters, you think, well, hang on a minute, how she entered so quickly? So you have to have these slight fillers in between, which is why having something like Harry tucks his feet further into the duvet gives you a little bit of cushion, if you pardon the pun, to keep the story going, and it doesn't seem too quick. Harry tucks his feet further into the duvet. Now, apologies, I talk to myself, is again how I write. Harry tucks his feet further into the duvet. Sally Johnson, how old is she? Let's say she's 40 years old. No, that's 50. 40, didn't do that. 14. Let's say she's let's say, if you say Sally Johnson 40, uptight, which is, again, is not necessarily an appearance, but it's like a demeanor. So you can imagine she's quite really uptight, hair short cropped hair, suit wearing, right? Enters. And Sally will then say, sorry, she wouldn't say, suit wearing enters. Now, the next bit, if you can imagine, if Sally's just entered the room after her son has just been calling for her. Now, we know this is a thing called exposition. Now, we know Sally Johnson, even before she enters, that this woman is going to be the mum, because he says mum, 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 and the next person to enter is Sally. If Dave Johnson entered, Harry would either have a choice to say, where's mum, which would imply that he knows that this is the dad, or the dad could say, your mum's busy, what do you want? And these are very subtle ways of showing a family tree. But if you wanted to say that Harry was the stepchild to Sally, so let's say Sally Johnson, uptight, short cropped hair, suit wearing, enters. He could say, she could say rather, sorry, what do you want? Now, the fact is she said, what do you want, implies that she's not very happy with him. Because normally you would say, what's the matter? But what do you want is quite aggressive. Harry blinks. I was going to say emotionless, in terms of blanks emotionlessly. He points towards the bedroom cupboard. And then Sally, still not really getting. Harry then could sign it. It's in there. What is? I don't think she really understands what's in there. The monster. Now Sally rolls her eyes. We've had this last week. We had this. Maybe not we. We had this last night, Harry. There's nothing there. There is. Sally closes. Sally steps closer to the bedroom. What did I say it was? Bedroom cupboard. is... Oh, no, sorry. There is... The bedroom cupboard. Sally. She rests one hand on... She rests one hand on the handle. Look, Harry. Look, Harry. There's no such thing as Sally opens the door. A giant claw grabs her and pulls her in. Now, that is page 1 done. Now, logically, that could be a 1 minute, 30-second flipping play. You know, it's got across so much about it. For example, as I've said, we know it's a bedroom, it's nighttime. We know that the kid is a fan of Millwall. That might play later on in the plot, it might not. It just adds character depth. We know his name, we know what he looks like. That could imply something about his upbringing. Maybe, you know, chubby bowl cut haircut. And no offence to anyone who's chubby and has a bowl cut haircut, but it could imply that he might be bullied at school. Again, that could be something that then gets developed later on. Spider-Man t-shirt, same thing. Could be a fan of comic books. Maybe this turns into a comic book story. You know, he after witnessing his mum getting killed by a monster, he goes on a monster hunt. We just don't know. Sits upright in bed, his forehead sweating. Clearly, he's disturbed. Mum. Harry takes his feet further into the duvet. Sally Johnson, uptight, short-cropped hair, suit wearing, enters. She's uptight, doesn't believe in monsters. Not only because she's a mum and she's 40 years old, but she, you know, stressed from work because she's still wearing a suit. So you can imagine her just wanted to get indoors, have a glass of red wine, put her feet up, and her annoying son, who, you know, calls for her, so she has to go back upstairs. What do you want? No care in the world. Get on with it. Harry blinks emotionlessly. He points towards the bedroom cupboard. He's so scared that he can't speak. He just points. What? It's in there. What is? Didn't save. I would save it, but I don't need to. What? It's in there. What is? The monster. Now, think about who's saying this. If this was an older person, they might describe it in, I don't know, I saw something. But because it's a kid, he would just say it as bluntly as that, the monster. Sally rolls her eyes. She's not impressed. Now, normally, you don't, you know, Sally rolls her eyes, unimpressed. Not really needed, because the fact is you roll your eyes almost implies that you're already unimpressed, to be fair. We had this last night, Harry. There's nothing there. This gives you a time frame. This, you know that this has happened twice in 1 week, which adds to why Sally's even more annoyed. Harry, there is. Sally steps close to the bedroom cupboard. She rests. Sorry, that's meant to be one hand. She rests one hand on the handle. Look, Harry, there's no such thing as Sally opens the door. A giant claw grabs her and pulls her in. Bosh. All of this took me, I don't know how long the video's been going for, but the fact is we've come up with a potential beginning for a television show, a film, in the space of, bearing in mind that one page, normally it's a page per minute. All of this has been established in 1 minute. We know that this character believes in monsters. His mum didn't. His mum then gets killed. With a script, the most important part is whatever you write has to be so precise and has to add in to some sort of value. If it doesn't move the story on, if it doesn't move the story on, or it doesn't add to character development, or reveal something about the character, or reveal something about the plot, it shouldn't be in there. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. I feel like I was waffling quite a lot, but I just wanted to sort of show that writing can be fun. I enjoyed writing this because it was off the cuff, and you can probably tell by my ramblings it was even more off the cuff. But hopefully that if I do decide to do an episode 2, I'll have it a little bit more precise. But I just wanted to demonstrate the formatting. And what I would normally do, I'd normally go back over this on my second draft and really make it tight. And when I say tight, if there's a few repetitive words like and, buts, and commas, and anything that just looks uneasy on the eye, you try to strip it back. If you can describe someone in 2 words rather than 4 words, do it. If you want to add more, do it. Anything you add, normally something has to be taken away in order for that thing to be added. So you're not multiplying, you're subtracting, then adding. So it's kind of the same amount of things added, if that makes any sense. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed doing it, and I'm going to make myself another coffee. Thank you very much.